Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on why to quit smoking. Why quitting smoking is so hard, presented by Quitshaw. I am Abhilasha, and today I will be sharing some hidden secrets about smoking habits based on our team's experience, which has helped more than 60,000 people to quit smoking. Now, many of you must have already tried to quit smoking in the past. Many of you might have also reduced the number of cigarettes that you smoke. And some of you, this might be the first attempt. And as some of you mentioned, you might be looking for solutions for other people in your network or family. What I will be sharing with you today, as I said, will be equally important and useful for all of you. So let's start with the quitting journey of Harish. So Harish was one of our clients. I'm sorry, my slides are moving slightly faster than my speed. Okay, so Harish was one of our clients. He was a regular smoker, smoking 10 to 15 cigarettes a day. He didn't want to quit smoking because it helped him and he liked it. He actually loved smoking, and smoking was there with him always in his pocket, like a comfort partner. But what happened was slowly his health started deteriorating. He started noticing that he was having difficulty doing normal activity like climbing stairs, and just his stamina was low. He was feeling lethargic, and one day at a party, he just smoked a lot, and he felt that his throat was itchy, and his chest felt congested, and he coughed. So there was some blood in his phlegm. He did not like this. He did not like this version of himself. And that's when he realized that he had to quit smoking, whether he liked it or not. So I want to ask all of you some questions right now. My first question is, why are you planning, or why are you looking for a solution for others to quit? You can leave your answers in the chat. I know we have a very talkative audience, but I'll give you a few seconds to see what your responses are. It's okay. I mean, it's a safe space. If you feel comfortable in sharing, that's absolutely fine. Um, okay, so addiction of anything is bad. That's a very great and noble thought, and very apt for this session. So thank you for sharing that. For the betterment of my family, another very good reason and a very great motivating factor. Health issues, pocket expenses also rises because it's absolutely true. It's an added expense on the pocket, on the time, on the effort, definitely. Health was getting bad. So in a way, we've actually covered pretty much all the reasons because of health, family, expenses, stress relief. So these are exactly the reasons why we are looking to quit, most of us, right? Now, uh, let's get back to Harish's story. So Harish decided that he wants to quit. And what did he do? He decided he was going to smoke one cigarette less every day and eventually reach to 1 to 2 cigarettes per day. So he would still get to enjoy smoking and won't even face any negative health effects. So it seemed like a win win situation for him. So on the first day, he smoked 9 cigarettes. Then next, he smoked 8, and so on. Gradually, he went down to 2 cigarettes in 10 days. And he was very excited that, yes, he's cracked the code of moderate smoking. And so he was happy. So he went to another friend's party, and he felt that he had been good that day. And he had only smoked twice. So he told himself, today, I won't smoke. I've got this. Now, around him, he saw a lot of people smoking. His friends were lighting up one after another. But as the night rolled on, he felt off. He felt this heavy feeling in his stomach that he was missing out. And then, just like that, spoiler alert, because I showed this to you, uh, he gave in. One of his friends offered him a smoke, and he smoked, and he instantly felt better. And that one cigarette turned into 5 that night. So coming back to you guys, how many of you have had such moments where it feels that your brain is playing tricks on you? You fight hard, you have this control, and then boom, all the progress is lost, and you're back to square one. Uh, any answers in the chat would, if you'd like to share, if you have, yes, great. I mean, yes, you can just leave yes or no also, if you don't want to type too much. Great. So we do have people who have faced a similar situation. I know every smoker at some point or the other in their lives have faced the situation. Yes, you kind of tend to avoid these situations because of your feeling, right? Um, so what I want to tell you that Harish's story is a very common one. Most smokers, while cutting down, make these rules, right? That I'm just going to smoke when I'm on a holiday, or only when I'm with friends, only when I'm alone in the evening. I will avoid social situations. I will only smoke when someone else buys it, or I'll only smoke with alcohol. So we always trick ourselves into breaking these rules because the situation is special. We tell ourselves today is a bad day. Let me smoke one today. From tomorrow, it'll be good again. And once we break one rule, it becomes much easier to break it the next time. Now, when it's a battle between us versus us, we always lose. Every time we break a promise, our self-confidence takes a massive hit. I'm sorry, my light went off. I hope everyone can still see me. So our self-confidence takes a massive hit, and it becomes increasingly difficult to quit. So we're constantly stuck in this loop. But I'm here to tell you this, that it's not your fault. The thing is that we don't understand this habit of what is going on in our minds. We are not aware of these tricks our mind is playing to keep this habit going. We don't even realize that this is mental addiction. That is why it is so hard to get rid of smoking. Now, have you experienced these mind tricks in your quitting experience? Leave a yes in the chat box. Let me see how many of you have uh, felt like this. Absolutely great. I do see some yeses coming in. Amazing. So now, I'm not trying to say that quitting smoking is actually difficult or it's impossible. It does seem so. I'm sure you have any friend or any relative who was a smoker or is still a smoker. Have they been able to permanently and effectively quit smoking? Think about the answer. You can also leave the answer yes or no, because I know that usually the number is less. People quit and then they tend to fall back. Now, right now, I feel another responsibility to share a bitter truth with you. There is an even bigger problem with when it comes to quitting smoking. The problem is created because of the belief that quitting smoking is hard. It is created as a result of your previous unsuccessful attempts to quit, and because everyone around us believes that quitting smoking is so hard. And that problem is called procrastination. It's that little voice in your head that keeps whispering, I love smoking too much to quit now, or I can do it later. That hesitation, that delay isn't rare. I've seen it among my friends, my clients, people in my network. The mind can be powerful in weaving stories, and the mind tricks that cause you to bury your head in the sand, hoping for a magical solution tomorrow. So, it is understandable to get this reaction to something that we believe requires too much effort, or will not work, or will make us unhappy. But why have we been made to believe that quitting smoking is hard, and that it's something that we should procrastinate on? To understand that, let's look at the effectiveness of various methods that are out there. We did some research, and on the success rates of commonly recommended quitting smoking methods, here are the findings. Now, doctors' advice, only 2% are successful using doctors' advice in quitting smoking. Self-control method or cold turkey or cutting down, only 4% are successful. There's a national toll-free quit line. Only 5% are successful. Nicotine gums or patches, which are readily available, only 6 to 8%. There are also medicines like Vericillin or bupropion. Only 7 to 14% are successful using these methods. Now, these aren't numbers I arrived at. These are from WHO's report on smoking cessation. Let's take a second to think about this. If you go to a doctor for fever and they give you some medication and tell you that the chances of this medicine working are only 10 to 15%, how would you feel? Would you take that medicine? Tell me yes or no. Only 10 to 15%. Of course, no, right? You'll either go to another doctor or you'll look for another option. So the important thing that we need to understand is these methods do not explain the addiction nor give us the tools to overcome this addiction. Why? Because they are missing the key, which is mental addiction. They only focus on the behavior, not on the root cause. It's like trying to control only the symptoms of the disease without even killing the virus that's causing it. With these methods, smokers continue to believe that smoking is enjoyable. So when they quit, they get cravings and then they relapse. They have deeply rooted emotional dependence on smoking, which is the root cause, which needs to be broken, but it doesn't address it. And through these methods, you're just one cigarette away from getting addicted again. So the important thing is to be able to truly remove cravings and to be happy, you need to change your mindset. Now, to change your mindset, you need to understand how addiction actually works and why do we even call this smoking or nicotine addiction, right? Let's look at the definition of addiction. The persistent and intense or compulsive desire to regularly repeat a behavior despite its harmful effects on your life. Now, how can you identify that this is actually addiction, whether you're addicted to smoking? Let's look at some characteristics. So, consuming or engaging in quantities beyond biological or survival need, for example, binge eating is considered addiction. High frequency of consumption, example, smoking cigarettes every day can be considered addiction. Consumption in response to emotional needs, example, eating dessert while feeling sad, can be considered addiction. Anxiety, craving when you're unable to do this behavior, for example, getting irritated, cranky when you're not allowed to smoke, can also be considered addiction. Unable to stop consuming or engaging even if you want to. For example, trying to quit desserts and failing, that also comes under addiction. Now, addiction has primary two components, the physical or chemical addiction, and then there's the psychological or mental addiction. Let's look at chemical addiction first. Now, to better understand chemical addiction, we need to understand how pleasure pathways work. Why do we feel good and joyful? The pleasure pathways in our brain are actually designed to ensure our survival and the survival of the human race. They are designed to be activated in response to activities which increase the livelihood of your survival, so that you will want to do these activities again and again. So whenever you do an activity necessary for survival, for example, eating, drinking water, bonding with other people, having sex, your pleasure pathways will be activated and your happy hormones will be released and you will feel great. Also, most importantly, your brain will record this as an important activity for your survival. It'll tell you, remember this, remember what you just did, and we have to repeat this. Now, let's zoom into our brains and see the actual chemical process and how these happy hormones are activated. Now, our brain is made up of neurons. What we're looking at right now is the inside of a neuron and the outside of a neuron. Now, the neurons designed for releasing happy hormones have these receptors, as you see, these red ones on them. Let's call these pleasure receptors. Now, when these pleasure receptors are empty, they reduce the level of happy hormones. We feel a bit sad, unhappy, and disappointed, dissatisfied. Now, when we do an activity which is necessary for our survival, like eating food, drinking water, or bonding with people, or having sex, the body will send a chemical into the brain which will latch onto some, not all, of these receptors and activate them, causing a moderate amount of dopamine or happy hormone to be released. So here we see that there are two receptors sending a bit of negative emotion, but the three sending positive emotion. So overall, we feel an appropriate level of happiness. But after some minutes or hours, depending on what activity you did, the chemical automatically detaches from the receptor and we feel sad again. Let's summarize this. We do something that is important for our survival, like eat, drink, bond, etc. We feel good for some time, then we come back to this neutralish emotion. This happens over and over again throughout our lives. This is a common cycle. Now, what happens when we consume something addictive? Addictive substances are addictive simply because they hack into these survival pathways and overstimulate them by activating all of your receptors. We feel artificially extra happy, more than we're supposed to. So here, if you see, they give you a quick burst of artificially high happiness and then quickly goes down as compared to other survival activities, as you can see in the graph. So what does this spike do? It tells your brain that what you just did is important for your survival and the survival of the human race. You must remember this activity and do it again. As you can see the checklist here, it's important. We have to remember, we have to repeat this. So just like eating and bonding and drinking water, the consumption of this substance, this addictive substance, is also registered as a survival activity. It hacks into the same cycle of our natural survival activities, as you can see, like you were eating and then feeling great, and then you felt hungry again, and then your body told you have to eat again. Similarly, the cycle for smoking also started, right? But our brain hasn't been designed to be overstimulated. It thinks that something is wrong. If you overstimulated once or twice, or just only for a far spaced out occasion, it doesn't bother. Right now, it's happy. But if you overstimulate it too much, if you do something addictive too often, it understands that there's something wrong. So it compensates by creating more receptors, the red ones that you see here. Now, when you have something addictive regularly, there is a problem. Only some of the receptors are activated, and you feel that just the normal amount of happiness, not the earlier level of happiness. The drug is no longer giving you that hyper stimulated high. Why? Because the compensatory behavior in this brain is called tolerance, and you build that tolerance, and that is the root cause of all addiction, right? Earlier, this drug used to give you brief, intense high. But now, when you consume the drug, we don't get the same intense high that we got in the first few times. Only the normal pleasure that earlier we used to get doing normal activities like eating, drinking. So you need to consume more and more of the drug to be able to fill all the receptors and get high again. But then the brain compensates. So the brain also knows, and it creates even more receptors, and the cycle continues. And we are never able to go back to the original high we got. Earlier, we were smoking one cigarette, and that was enough, but over time, it keeps on increasing. Now, do you remember when I showed you how the receptors looked when we did a normal survival activity, as you can see in the first part here, over here? Only 3 receptors are activated. Earlier, they would be enough to make us happy. But now, there are too many empty receptors left over sending negative signals to the brain. So the normal activities are unable to make you happy anymore, like they used to. They no longer give you the same pleasure. For example, sugar addiction. You can no longer enjoy a meal without having something sweet at the end. It's a very normal thing, but it's an actual condition, it's an actual addiction. Now, when we aren't doing any natural survival activity or consuming any artificial drug, there are double the amount of receptors sending negative signals to the brain, making us extra unhappy. So compare any coffee addict before they've had their morning coffee versus someone who's not addicted to caffeine. Any coffee addict will tell you, don't talk to me before I've had my morning cup of coffee, or don't ask me to do anything before I've had my coffee, because their dependence, because their receptors are asking for it, asking for the caffeine. And lastly, the brain has started to believe that consuming this drug is required for your survival. So we will keep doing it again and again to the point that it becomes absolutely automatic. Now, repeated hyperstimulation in response to these artificial things creates a compensatory response, which results in tolerance and develops our chemical addiction. So, as you can see over here, the baseline level of happiness of the person has gone into negative zone. Once you have developed tolerance, instead of the drug giving you pleasure, all it is doing is making you suffer extra all day for all for those few moments of coming back to normal when you consume the drug. As you can see, most of it is in the red zone. So your tolerance is going up and your satisfaction is coming down. Let's take an example. I'm sure you must have all experienced this, wearing tight shoes. Doesn't it feel amazing when you take them off? But would you ever intentionally put on these tight shoes just for that pleasure of taking them off? Tell me in the comments, tell me in the chat. Right, no, obviously not. So here we are again. And as you can see, how this person has developed tolerance is unable to get satisfaction from normal activities anymore. They need drug to be able to get to some level, same level of joy that someone who is not addicted to drugs gets just by doing normal activity. And here you can see how this person who has developed tolerance is unable to deal with stressful situations or negative emotions as well anymore, because they feel so much more worse than the person who's not addicted. They're not even able to reach the normal state, the normal level which a normal person can instantly feel after going or feeling low. So now that we've understood this pathway and we're clear on the biological basis of addiction, guess what? None of this matters. Turns out, chemical addiction isn't even the real problem. You know what the real problem is? We'll come to that. All you need to do right now is try and go cold turkey for a few days, maximum 2 to 3 weeks. I'm sure some of you must have tried that. And your brain will be right back to normal, as it was never addicted. I'm sure we've tried to quit smoking, we've tried to quit desserts, we've tried to quit alcohol for a few days and weeks, and we are able to do that. But we do fall back. Why? Why do we fall off the wagon when we just have that one bite or that one puff, and suddenly we have binge eaten a giant cake every day for a month? Because the real problem is psychological or mental addiction. Now, have you heard of Pavlov's experiment with dogs? It involved conditioning a dog to associate the sound of bell with food. resulting in the dog salivating at the sound of the bell alone, even without the presence of food. This is called classical conditioning. Similarly, when we consume the drug enough times in a particular situation, our brain starts developing a false belief or deception in its subconscious mind that we need to do this activity in a stressful situation or at the end of a meal or to feel good. So we're doing normal activities, but we're not getting that high. So our brain will give you this trigger, this deception, this false belief that, hey, maybe you should smoke a cigarette and then you will feel better, right? So then even if the tolerance is gone and our brain is back to normal, the brain still believes that the drug will make them happy in these scenarios. And then when you cannot have this drug, it causes irritability, anxiety, and cravings because these false beliefs or deceptions are responsible for your cravings and for your relapses. Because eventually, in a weak moment, you will give in because of these strong cravings and deceptions. And if you give in even one bite or one puff, your brain immediately goes to its original level of chemical addiction because brain never forgets that it had once developed this tolerance. So even if your brain is back to normal, with just one bite, your cycle of chemical addiction is back, which once again will drive your psychological cravings and deceptions. But to understand cravings better, we need to learn where they come from, which is the subconscious mind. I mentioned this before, but let's get into the details. Now, let's play a quick game. Close your eyes, everyone, okay? And picture a weighing scale with pros and cons of smoking. On one side, we have stress relief and enjoyment and the idea that it's cool. But on the other side, uh, okay. So on one side, we have stress relief, enjoyment, and the idea that it's cool. But on the other side, you can list 20 other things like low stamina, various cancers, heart diseases, bronchitis, erectile dysfunction, waste of money, and the list is very long. Now, if we were logical beings, the scale would automatically tip against smoking every time. But if it were that simple, we'd all quit in an hour, wouldn't we? So next now I want you to open your eyes and think of benefits to keep smoking. And for that, you can check a cigarette pack if you have it around. Any brand. Go ahead and try to find a single benefit listed there. Spoiler, you won't find any. I'm telling you. What you will find though is something like this, that tobacco can be harder to quit than heroin or cocaine, that it is more addictive than heroin or cocaine. Quite an endorsement, isn't it? Now, you might wonder why our brain makes such irrational choices. Here's the twist. Our logical mind, which tells us to quit, only occupies 1% of our brain activity. The rest, it's the subconscious powerhouse that holds emotions and cravings and automatic responses. If the brain was an iceberg, the conscious part or the logical part would be just the tip peeking out. Our brain is addicted to smoking not only at the logical level, but also on the subconscious level. The conscious mind or the subconscious mind is like a tape recorder. It is responsible for all automatic activities like breathing, walking, driving, etc. We have smoked many times and believed in the benefits of smoking for so many years that we've created these subconscious associations with smoking triggers and stored thousands of memories of smoking. We've created neural pathways in our brain that automatically think positively about smoking and create cravings for smoking. This psychological addiction is at the subconscious level. Our conscious mind is logical, but it has no control over the subconscious mind. Cravings will still be there because they exist at the subconscious level. Our memories of smoking, deeply etched in the subconscious, are just like old songs that bring nostalgia. These memories stir cravings and they pull us back. Let's do another demonstration. Close your eyes again, and I'm going to ask you a question. Don't try to think of an answer. That's the trick. Don't think of an answer, okay? What is 2 plus 3? If you did visualize, or if you thought of the answer 5, it did come in your head, then it was your subconscious mind. Let's try it again. What is the color of rose? If you thought or visualized a red or pink or white, because rose come in so many colors, it was your subconscious mind. Despite the conscious mind instructing your mind not to think of an answer, your subconscious mind came up with an answer within just a few milliseconds. It is 100 times more powerful than your conscious mind. And that is what governs your repetitive behavior. That is the part of the brain that has recorded every puff, every drag, every memory of smoking. So if you want to control it, you will get success only for a few days by using determination and willpower. But the subconscious mind will keep coming up with excuses from your memories. It'll keep bringing back the stored memories of fun that you've had while smoking. It'll come up with some reason to justify that next cigarette, like just smoke one more, just for the occasion. Let's live today. I'll be good tomorrow. Now, there was a study back in 2002. They looked at lung cancer patients who tried to quit smoking. The results are shocking. You'd think cancer is motivation enough, right? Quitting would be the logical thing to do. But most of these people, they initially quit, but after 6 months, 78% started smoking again. It's because at the subconscious level, they believed that they were missing out on something by quitting. They felt those cravings and they never changed their mindset at the subconscious level. That is how powerful the subconscious mind is. Now, using willpower at the subconscious is only about using the conscious mind, which is powerless against the subconscious mind. Using willpower alone to quit is like emptying the ocean with a bucket. You might remove a little bit of water, but the vastness remains. That's why willpower is only useful for a few days. In a fight of you versus you, obviously, you will lose. And in that game, that is not a risk that you want to take. That is why the success rate of willpower, determination, and cutting down is just 4%. And most of us are stuck in this loop of using willpower and quitting and failing again. And eventually we conclude we don't have enough willpower and we're weak. This results in our so low self-esteem and the fear of quitting. But the reality is that this tool is ineffective. There is a beacon of hope, though. Instead of fighting with ourselves, we need to understand and reprogram the subconscious. Instead of trying to force the door open, why not find the key? Only then can we experience true freedom from the chains of smoking. And soon, we'll come back to techniques to harness the power of the subconscious mind. Coming back to the common quitting methods that I mentioned, 96% people who have tried using willpower go on to try other methods such as nicotine replacement therapy, which are nicotine gums, patches. They will try pills, they will try sessions, therapy sessions, they will even try shifting to e-cigarettes. Let's talk about these methods. Wouldn't it be easier to take a gum and or to put a patch that they keep showing on TV? Think about it. Can these pills change your subconscious cravings? Of course not. These gums and pills can only remove the physical addiction to smoking, to nicotine. But now that you know the real addiction is psychological, that is why the success rate of nicotine gums and patches is less than 10%. And this is based on WHO's report. Forget about statistics. How many people do you know who've tried gums and patches were able to quit smoking? Tell me in the chat. If you even know of people who've tried, even if you have tried, what's the success? Let's find out. Very less. No. So yes, none in my circle, very low. Great. So as we can see, These things don't actually work. The problem is that each failed attempt with these things dent our self confidence, and that the thought which creeps in is, I've tried so many times and failed, I can never really quit. In all probability, people don't even need these substitutes. Moreover, this will just keep you trapped in this nicotine addiction for 2 to 3 months. But why wait for so long when you can quit in just 1 week? Yes, that's how much time it takes for you to change your mindset and remove cravings. Now, smoking is a psychological addiction rooted deep in the subconscious mind. To get rid of this addiction, you need to learn the techniques of reprogramming the subconscious mind and removing the desire from the root, such as cognitive behavior therapy, mindfulness, acceptance of triggers, etc. These methods will help you create a new mindset so that you are happy to quit smoking and you remain happy and you won't have any cravings. These methods have a much higher success rate as well. Now, I have a very important thing to address. There is another tool which really helps in changing mindset, and that is content. Let's look at the role of content also in changing mindsets. Remember those old commercials, uh, perhaps of toys and candies? Years later, we still remember, like, Melody itni chocolatey kyun hai, right? Why do we remember them? Because they're not just ads, they evoke emotions and memories and desires. That is the power of content. If you're still skeptical, let's dive deeper into an example. A story that I want to share with you is of Edward Bernays. He was dubbed as the father of public relations, and in 1920s he was given the task of increasing cigarette sales to women. Women smoking in public was frowned upon at that time. So Bernays decided to tie smoking to women's liberation movement. He wanted to make smoking a symbol of rebellion against societal norms and an expression of women's newfound independence. He staged a PR stunt where he paid young women to march to the New York Easter Parade while smoking cigarettes. These women were called Torches of Freedom. The event was covered worldwide and presented these women as modern and emancipated. The widespread media coverage and the crafted narrative caused a shift in the public's perception of women smoking. This normalized the idea of women smoking, and he rewrote public perception, proving that mindsets can be shifted with the right strategy and right content. And just like Edward Bernays turned smoking into a symbol of freedom for women, your mind can be influenced, sometimes without you even realizing it. Now, that is exactly how QuitSure app works, as it provides the tool to change your mindset at a subconscious level using the power of content. It is designed to be a positive, reinforcing influence, constantly shifting your internal narrative about smoking. It's effective, it's quick, it's affordable, and it's accessible because it's an app. Now, recently, QuitSure has forged a partnership with Plum, focusing on promoting health and wellness, specifically in the area of smoking cessation. This collaboration aims to enhance efforts in helping individuals like yourself overcome their smoking habits. Now, QuitSure started in 2022, but today is a world's leading quit smoking app, boasting an impressive 71% success rate based on our clinical proven research. QuitSure's method isn't about merely resisting a habit, but transforming the root cause of desire. This is grounded in the miracle of neuroplasticity. So we must understand that the power of human brain is not static, it evolves. Think of your brain as a software that can be reprogrammed. While smoking might have created certain patterns, these patterns can be rewritten. Now you might wonder, how? So you learned to play an instrument or you learned how to drive, but initially it felt hard, right? And with practice, these activities became second nature and automatic. That's your brain adapting and creating new neural pathways, making the unfamiliar act familiar. Now, Quitsure exploits the same principle but in reverse, making the familiar act of smoking unfamiliar and unnecessary. It will change your mindset. And once the mindset is changed, then instead of feeling sad about not being able to smoke, you will actually feel happy to be a non smoker. Quitsure uses proven science. It it helps you to get rid of all your cravings. You won't have any willpower. Uh, you won't require any willpower. And there is also relapse prevention towards the end. The content is easy to follow, and there is coaching and support if you need any help. Now, just giving you a brief introduction about Quitsure because we are from Quitsure and we wanted to let you know our intention is only to help people quit smoking, and that's what we're doing with Quitsure app as well. All right, I was just addressing to one comment. Okay, so we're almost towards the end of the webinar now. And I want to thank you all so much for staying with me throughout the webinar. Your time and attention obviously mean the world to me. And I want to share a quick trick with you. If you really want to quit smoking, but a voice in your head is saying, I will do it later, then think about what happened the last time when you thought about doing it later. And be honest with yourself. Now you know better. Right now, you are more conscious and you're more aware of the learnings through this webinar. So your conscious mind is powerful. The most effective trick to overcome procrastination is the 10-second rule. Research shows that the 10 seconds, if you act on that impulse before the mind starts making excuses, are most effective. So if you want to develop a new habit of going to the gym, then act within the 10 seconds of you feeling motivated. If you think more, then your brain will convince you to delay it for tomorrow. It happens to all of us. The same goes for quitting smoking. So as we wind down, if you're feeling inspired, curious, or even just tiny bit hopeful, I have this small token of appreciation for hanging out with me today. For all you amazing folks, you can use Plum30 and get your exclusive Quitsure discount right now. It's just a little nudge, not trying to sell anything, for those who want to really embark on this quitting journey. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. And I hope you all give yourself a fighting chance, and cheers to a smoke-free life ahead and beautiful moments that it can bring.